Hello, hello. Can you hear
Hey,
me?
how are you? Yeah, how are you?
Good. I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I like your shirt.
Thank you. One of my favorites is random thank you scientist penguins attacking a castle with pineapples.
Oh, well, I didn't see the picture, but I liked the sentiment of that.
Uh, if you can.
That's funny. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I definitely think our scientists need more thinking, so I appreciate that part.
I agree, but also just for the record, so it's out there. I got it from the band Thank You Scientist. But I
Oh, I didn't
agree.
even know there was a band called that.
Yep. Yeah, they're
Hmm.
fun.
No, I'll have to check them out. That's funny. Well, maybe that's what their name came from. I mean, that's a pretty.
I'm I would think so. Yeah.
Oh, how's your day going?
Okay.
Or
Uh,
morning?
yeah, just planning for holidays. My 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 kids, hopefully they don't see this. My kids' Christmas presents are stashed out here with me, and they just tried to walk in right before I joined this, and I like freaked out, like, no, no, get out of here. So
You're so loud in here. Oh my
yeah,
gosh, that
yeah,
that time of year, trying to hide those gifts are
yep,
always tricky. Because you know
yeah.
as soon as you're gone that they're on the hunt.
Yeah, right. That mine aren't quite to that age yet. They're 6 and 4, so they're not
Oh, okay.
they're not thoroughly hunting yet. Um, they're just getting into more of the like shaking the presents under the tree kind of stage.
I remember when I was younger, it felt like time would move like molasses when it came to December. It felt like it would go so, so slow. And now, as an adult, I'm like, oh my gosh, it is right around the corner. Am I ready? Am I
Uh-huh.
ready?
Right, yeah. And so much more responsibility aspect. It's funny that you mentioned that too. I'll segue it because that's so much of what this Lunar album is about is time, the passing of it, our perception of it, that kind of thing.
So that's where the different seasons come in is
Hmm.
just how quickly they change.
Yeah. Basically, I originally it was going to be like a 4-track EP that was just going to be kind of season thematic. But then it grew from there, and it kind of grew to this overarching theme of time passing, and it's a rich area to me that has all these different aspects of not just time itself, but our lack of control over it, how we try to control it, how we our perception of it, things that we do to ourselves that can make it feel like it goes faster or slower, aspects of memory, that all that kind of stuff. So it just became this overarching theme for the whole album. And so the title of the album, Tempora Mutantur, I think I'm saying it right, is a Latin phrase that means the passing of time, essentially.
Okay, I wasn't even going to try to attempt to say it.
Yeah, no, I'm still scared too. I'm pretty sure I say it correctly, but yeah.
Okay, okay, well that makes sense. So what made you decide to use that as the theme on this album? Because this is your fourth, I believe, fourth album.
Yes, fourth album. Yeah. I don't know. I guess it's really. I don't feel like it's so much a decision ever. It's more so just of what comes to me, and I think at this point in my life that theme, that thought process of time is coming up a lot,
Mhm.
and all like I was saying before, all those different aspects of it, and things that I personally have witnessed and felt in relation to it, and that's just what was coming out.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, it's another banger of an album. It's
Thank you.
so crazy. I'm always so impressed and surprised with what you guys are able to do. Now, do you
Thank
know?
you.
I don't know if you know if you can or if you can answer this. How many instruments did you use in this
Oh
album?
God.
There's a lot going
um
on there. Like I heard
uh,
a xylophone, a harmonica.
yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. Okay, so let's see. So the xylophone stuff is actually not xylophone, it's keyboard stuff.
Oh, it
Just so
sounds
yeah,
okay.
no, I'm not trying to trick anybody.
It totally sounds
But
like a xylophone.
yeah, I think it's like a xylophone effect that he used on a synthesizer kind of thing. but the harmonica was there. It's let's see, it's harmonica was done by a guy named Brody Gage, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. Sorry to anybody if I get any of this wrong. It's been a while. It's been a year since we actually recorded some of these parts, so um, some of it I got to search through my memory for. Brody Gage, though, he and his brother are both harmonica players. They were actually on America's Got Talent a while back. You can go find their auditions and stuff on there, their performances. They're pretty fun. Yeah, there's harmonica, there's saxophone, there's cello. What else is on there? And then the first track has tubas, trombones, trumpets. And then you've got your more standard rock band stuff. You've got your drums and guitars and bass and keys. So yeah, and I still can't answer it because I wasn't counting while I was going through all that.
So I was gonna say, I'm sure you can because I every time I listen to it, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's more and more and more instruments that I'm hearing.
Yeah, yeah, and I love exploring stuff like that. It's makes even the simplest parts of the music can become much more unique sounding doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
The very first track on the record, that it was this main guitar hook that I had, but I had it in mind almost instantly when I heard it, of just like, this needs to be drowned with horns. That's what I want for this.
And that's how you started out.
Uh-huh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty wild ride. And the second track, I just spaced the name of it. The one that's
Fall,
like over 11 minutes long.
yeah, yeah. Fall back into old habits is
Yeah,
the
that
title. Yeah,
itself is a whole journey all it's in itself. And that one
yeah,
probably has become my favorite, but I think just because there's so much that happens, and I mean it is a longer song, but
yeah,
there's so
yeah.
much that happens in there.
Yeah, yeah. I believe that's the longest Lunar song to date, because yeah, like you said, it's like 11 and a half minutes or something like
Yeah.
that. It's a fun little journey. It also features Brian Lewis, the growl vocalist, the death metal vocals, the most of him, I think, because the majority of the vocals on that song are him. That
Yeah.
Chandler is on there with some singing parts, but it's only one or two small parts in that 11 and a half minute song.
Right.
Um, so it's a pretty it's a heavier track, I feel, for the most part. And yeah, like you said, goes through a lot of different stages in that 11 and a half minutes.
Yeah, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, because it starts off really heavy and then yeah, it kind of has some different melody changes and shifts throughout. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it starts off definitely a lot heavier. Now the last three are part one, part two, and part three.
Yeah.
Is that like you had mentioned in the beginning that you initially thought it was going to be a four-part thing of all the different seasons? Was that where that started and then it became
Yeah,
more than that?
added, well, actually the opposite. It was the other four.
Oh,
So taking out track three, so it was like one, two, four, and five
oh,
uh
interesting.
would have been the original
Okay.
four track idea, the summer, fall, winter, and spring tracks.
Uh,
And then when it grew from there, then I kind of had the idea of doing the three-part one, and kind of going again just with the time theme, and then you can kind of feel the shift of tone through those three parts, where the part one is more like the sadness aspect of it. The part two is the anger aspect of
aggressive.
it, and the third part, which is the one that people can have heard at this point, the watch the
Right.
weather changes, is kind of like, to me, it's the vacant part of your mind. You know what I mean? It
Hmm.
becomes like the where you're just unaware of time passing. Um, you're
And
just
the
locked into whatever it is, whether it be something positive or negative. In the case that I wrote it, it's much more from a negative perspective.
really,
Yeah, yeah. Even though it does feel, maybe doesn't feel that way sometimes, but
uh,
yeah, it it is more of like you're almost catatonic, you know what I mean? Like it through grief or whatever it may be, and how time is passing around you and you're just unaware of it, really, you know?
Interesting. That's interesting because the feeling of that song definitely feels lighter.
Yeah.
But I guess even when you're just kind of existing in the heaviness, that doesn't necessarily uh you're just existing versus living. So that can be like
Mhm.
an empty space. So that makes sense too.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. And that's where that one for sure, that, you know, the watch the weather change aspect of just like listening to, you know, the lyrics of the chorus of, you know, I stare outside through my glazed over eyes and watch the weather change. It's my, you know, like it's passing around you, but your life is standing still essentially, you know.
Yeah, that's interesting. So do you write all the lyrics too then?
Most, not all, but most. I think on this record it was probably about 90% of them were me. Balmore had contributed some. He played guitar on The Illusionist, and he did contribute some lyrics to that album as well. And then with this one, he and I ended up going separate ways before any recording was done. But he did contribute a couple guitar riffs that he wrote for some of the songs, and did contribute some lyrics as well.
Okay. Cool, cool. The video is a fun video. You have the one that you just released a couple days ago. I think it was 2 days ago, 2 or 3 days ago now too. That have the weather, winter
Yeah,
weather
the
thing.
Weakening Winter Touch one. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, that one's
Um,
really cool too. But the other one is super fun because you get to see you guys playing it, and with that progressive guitar playing, I always like to watch that. I think it's always fun to watch, and so it's
yeah,
cool seeing you out there and playing it.
I was glad we finally got to do that. You know, we've been doing this band for a decade now, and that
Mhm.
video shoot was the first time that all of us were in the same room together, you know.
That's
Um
cool.
and just because of, you know, where everybody lives spread out around the country, and when we're recording stuff, it doesn't, we've never had it to where it made sense financially to try and get
Yeah.
everybody together, you know. um
Right.
so it's always just it's been me with whomever is doing their parts, and kind of, you know, trying to give direction of like, this is what I'm going for, this is, you know, what I want, and I give them as much freedom as possible to do their thing, you know. But so yeah, for that video shoot, we finally had an opportunity. It was because of NAM, actually,
Oh,
the musical instrument convention that happens in Anaheim.
yeah. Yeah.
And so we found out that this year, so it was almost a year ago at this point, January 24, that like five or six or whatever of us were going to be there for NAM anyway. So I was like, well, at that point, we'll get the other one or two, we'll fly them out, and we'll try and do something, you know.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so that's how we made it happen. So we went down like a day early down to Southern California and rented a place in Los Angeles to shoot that video. And funny story too is the place I had originally rented to do it backed out on me like the day of that we got
Oh
there, and
no.
I thought it wasn't going to happen. And we scrambled to find a place, and we ended up finding that place where we actually shot the video, and it turned out way better than I could have ever expected. It had that beautiful skyline view, and it
Yes.
was such a last minute lucky find.
So how was it you guys all coming together since like you said it's never happened before. Did it feel comfortable since you guys had all been working together, or was it like this is awkward being face to face? Because sometimes, when you're over video or over text or whatever, it feels comfortable, and then you see each other face to face and it's like I don't even know how to talk to this person.
Right, right. Yeah, no, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. But thankfully, in this case, that was not the case. It very much, it seemed like, um, you know, from my perspective at least, it was easy enough. But I had spent face to face time with
With each
everybody
of them.
there, you know,
Right.
myself. But some of them were meeting each other in person for the first time, you know. And but it seemed like everybody got along, everybody was having a good time, and everybody that works in this band and has worked in this band, everybody's pros, and so they came in and did what they needed to do. Everybody had a good attitude, knew what we were there to accomplish, and made it happen.
Well, I saw on your Facebook page that you guys are going to be doing a show. So is everybody going to be able to come in for that as well?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
that's
cool.
that's the goal. We're still working some of the logistics out of figuring all of that out, but yeah, it looks like that will be the case. um I think we'll have to play with no live keyboardist, and just have to backtrack the keyboards, unfortunately, but that'll be it, and everybody else should be there.
That's exciting. So how
Yeah.
long is your set? Do you know yet?
I think in the ballpark of 45, 50 minutes. So
Okay.
yeah, so we'll play three songs because
All right.
yeah. No, we'll get I have the set list made up. I haven't looked at it in a little bit, but I think we get six songs or so in there.
Oh, that reminds me of Opeth. There's every once in a while when I'm driving somewhere, instead of doing like time, I'll do it in Opeth music
Uh-huh.
time. And so I'll be like, hey, that took me three Opeth songs
Uh-huh. Yeah, so
from the other
about an
side of
hour.
town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. No, yeah, I get that. Opeth is my favorite band in the
Oh,
world, has been my whole life. I
doesn't
know
surprise
I've seen
me.
them live a bunch of times, but I've always hated seeing them at festivals because of them getting shorter set times. Like when
Ah,
it's not them headline, and I understand it's a festival, not everybody's there to see them necessarily. I get why it happens that way. But you give Opeth a 40-minute set and it could literally be three songs.
right.
Um,
Oh, that doesn't surprise me. You're a big fan of them at all. That makes
yeah,
so much more sense with the music.
yeah, yeah.
So do you already know which songs you're going to be playing?
At the show in April, yes, yes, I do. But I'm
Are
not
there
spoiling
ones? It's okay, that's fine.
it.
Well, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but is it just going to be songs from this album since it's all of those guys, or is it going to be songs from other albums as well?
No, we'll do songs from other albums as well. Definitely, yeah. Since we've got four albums and an EP worth of material, and this is the first time we're ever playing live, I want to showcase as much of it as possible.
Yes.
So I can say that in the time that we're allotted, I'm trying to fit as much in as I can and give a little taste of
Hmm.
every chapter, as much as possible.
Yeah, because every album is very different, even though it obviously has the same like progressive undertones, overtones,
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They're all very, very different. And so that'll be an interesting set. I hope someone records it.
Yeah. I hope so too. I'm gonna try and make it so that we can get some pro footage of it too, so that
But
people can see when that aren't there. And yeah, because I agree that every album has its own thing, and then you have ones like the Illusionist, the previous album, that have this story going throughout it, and now we're kind of plucking random songs from that to play live. So I hope it'll go over well too.
right, right, yeah, yeah, which makes it, yeah, kind of, because that is a conceptual album. So yeah, it makes it a
Hmm.
little tricky, but not,
Yeah.
I mean, not a lot of people. I don't know if that's true. Well, yes, it is true. Because of streaming, not a lot of people, I think, take the time to go on those journeys through full
It,
albums.
right,
So,
right. Yeah, no, I know. The idea of concept albums is becoming a thing of the past, I feel, to a lot of people, and
yeah,
it's unfortunate because to me that's the best. When it's
yes.
the songs should be the chapters of the entire book,
Mhm.
essentially.
Right.
Um, and so, but it but I think you're right, and to a lot of people, and especially, and we still did it, like there were singles plucked from that album and released beforehand, and I'm sure there's plenty of people that have heard just those. And yeah,
Right.
so I'm sure it won't be a big deal.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. So with you guys doing this live show, is
Mm-hmm.
there talks of or possibility of you guys doing like a tour?
um I would love to do something like that. There's no discussions of that only because again, financially it doesn't make sense, you know. Um it the music industry is difficult these
Yeah.
days. And so there's an aspect of how do I put it? I'm trying not to be an ass about this in any way, you know, but
You can just say how
it,
you feel. I don't.
it you know, there's a lot of times through my career doing it at least is that you know these aspects of grind and go and pay to play and things like that, you know, and I've reached a point where I'm just like, yeah, I'm not going to do that
Mhm.
anymore, you know.
Yeah.
It has to make sense
Yeah.
for you know to make ends meet, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I need to be a millionaire getting paid outlandishly, but it needs to make sense for me to be able to pay the bills at home for
Yeah.
to do something like that, you know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Um, so I would love for it to happen, but I don't know if it will be realistic.
Yeah. Makes sense. What about vinyl pressings?
Vinyl, same kind of issue of just finances here. Is it just that I know there's a demand for it. I've even after announcing the pre-orders of this album, I've gotten multiple messages from people like, "Where's the vinyl?" You know,
Mhm.
um, and but I just couldn't do it this time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. It's expensive.
and yeah, and a lot of these places that require, and with this type of music too, with you know that it's these long albums, so I can't do single LPs. Everything has to be double LP, and it gets really pricey to do.
Yeah.
And then you have to press like you know a few hundred of them, and then you know I sell through maybe a third of those, and that's
Right.
awesome. And I love the people that buy them and support them, but then I'm left with you know 200 vinyl copies that just sit. So this time I just couldn't do it,
Yeah.
unfortunately. I hope that I will be able to in the future. You know, with the first album with Theogony, we only pressed it on CD originally, and then it was like a year later that we did the cassette and vinyl releases. So maybe with this one, something like that can happen too. Maybe in a year or so, I'll be able to put it out on vinyl, and the people that want it will be able to get it.
Yeah. Why do you think? Because I mean, I know that there's a lot of music out there and it's very difficult to get people to stop and listen to what you're doing because there's so much out there. But I can't understand why Lunar isn't bigger. Is that just because you guys are
Well,
so
thanks.
extremely talented and diverse and there's just a lot of really cool stuff going on that I think is like for everybody. And so
Mm-hmm.
is it like a marketing thing? Is it just hard to get to push through the
I think part of it could be that you know like the aspect like you said the oversaturation out there, you know, and people I'm even guilty of this myself. People are less inclined these days, I feel like, to listen to new stuff a lot of times, you know, like they have this stuff that they're familiar with. And like I'm that all the time. I get so little time these days to listen to music that it's a rarity that I'm searching for new stuff. It's generally if I have that little bit of time, I'm putting on something familiar that I'm like, I'm in the mood for this, you know.
yeah.
Um, so I think that could be part of it. I think also this kind of goes hand in hand with that, but also because of the fact that we've been around for 10 years and never played live, because that's a way that you get your name out there to people.
Really.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just the announcement of this one live show, I know there was a spike in people because they've never heard of us before. I'm
Oh,
sure,
that's cool.
and they see the announcement of this festival and they see our name on there and then say, oh, I don't know who that is, I'm going to check it out, you know. So that if there was the opportunity to do more festival appearances in different parts of the world, I'm sure that would change it too.
That makes sense.
um and yeah, yeah, so I think that's those are the big reasons for it.
Totally
But
makes
thank you for saying that. I
Oh,
appreciate.
I'm kind of in a pretty cool position of I used to be like that too before I started doing stuff with Metal Nation. I was
Hmm.
listening to stuff that, well, like when I was a teenager, there's a
Yeah.
whole decade of stuff that like people talk about Black Veil Brides. I don't know if I've heard a Black Veil Bride song, and they're huge,
Uh-huh.
like there's
Right.
bands like that I just totally missed out on because I was stuck listening to the stuff that I, grew up and was liking.
Hmm.
And it's embarrassing now because there's so many of them that are so big that I'm just like, I could not name a song, and I don't even know if I know what they sound like. I'm sure I've heard them along the way, but not enough there's a lot of them.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's so much out there.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes
Yeah.
sense.
But since I started doing Metal Nation, I get, obviously a million promos a day.
Uh-huh.
And when I take the time to sit down and go through ones that I don't know,
Uh-huh.
I find some real gems. And I can't remember, that might have been how I had initially found you guys. I can't remember for sure. But
Could be. Yeah.
there's some out there that you're just like, Unprocessed has become one of my all-time favorite bands, and I had never heard of them until last year.
Who was it?
Uh
I missed.
Unprocessed.
Unprocessed. See, I've never
Oh
heard of them.
my gosh, yeah, they're
And
so good. So there's
okay.
bands out there that are just these incredible bands that, yeah, aren't like you guys too, that aren't getting recognition, and it's like but there is so much, and so it's like, and of course everybody's different, and so
Hmm.
but there is some music that you're just like, I don't see how someone could hear this and be like, meh, not for me. you know?
Yeah. 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 And yeah, I would like to think that we have a little something for everybody, but also I know there's plenty of people out there that the death metal vocals instantly. Some people are just like, nope, I don't want this, or 11-minute songs, and some people are just like, nope, I don't even care to give this a chance.
Right.
Um,
But not all of them are 11 minutes. It's not like
yeah,
Opeth.
right,
They
right.
have
There's
many of
there's
them that are
there's
two,
three
three.
minute songs too. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
There's ones with catchy choruses and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything in between.
But that's what I love about this kind of music. Like you said, the diversity aspect to it. That's what's always drawn me to bands like Opeth, is that you can have a death metal song and then some folksy song that's right after, and something more poppy with a catchy chorus right after. Like, do it all.
Yeah. And their new
Yeah.
album, they went on a whole other journey that they just, of course, once again nailed.
Yeah, yeah, and that brings this back to the not searching for new stuff, because the whole last month of my life has just been listening to that new Opeth album. Like, I nothing else
Oh,
is.
good.
But I also have that tendency of just like that hyper fixation of
Fixation.
like, when I find something that I'm into it, that it's just like, okay, that's it. Next 3 months of my life are
Yep.
spoken for with this.
Yep.
Um, and that's what that album has been for me. Is it's just, and like you were saying about listening to the Lunar stuff, of just like every time I listen, I feel like I'm hearing a new layer, a new something that I didn't
Mhm.
catch before, and it's brilliant and fascinating to me.
Yes. Yep. The slow song, I'm gonna look down because I can't remember what it's called because oh my gosh, and I can't read my writing. Um, it wasn't that one. It wasn't that one. Did I not write it down? Oh, Passage of Time.
Oh yeah,
Um, so the slow one
yeah.
that is an emotional song, super
Hmm.
emotional song. Tell me about that one.
Um, let's see. So that was first of the three-part one. Like I said, that one
Mhm.
meant to really portray that emotion, that sadness, the time passing, and kind of memory aspects of it too. Um, and the first track deals with these kind of themes a little bit too. The what we grab onto in our memories through times, what stays with us, what doesn't, shaping us into what we become. Both good and bad. How we can sometimes the good memories are what fades away, the bad ones are what stick with us, but it also kind of makes us into who we are.
Right. Yeah, I don't know why. I guess maybe because of the title and some of the lyrics, but I thought it was a song about death, like about missing someone that had passed away.
And I mean, that's kind of how you can, that element is there a little bit too. It could be. I also try to write lyrics to be a little open so that people can
Mhm.
portray them their own way into, like the metaphor aspects of like attach this to what's going on in your life to
Yeah.
find that personal connection with it, so I don't want it to be so cut and dry of it's
Mhm.
specifically just about this. So that was helpful too with this like overarching theme, because yeah, you can definitely see it as that of the loss of a loved one. And I think I even put some stuff where it kind of felt like not necessarily death of a loved one, but like ending a relationship kind of too, of like
Mhm.
missing somebody that's just they're still there but not in your life anymore.
Right, right. Yeah. Do you ever have times of where, because you do the music as well, so do you ever have times that you get like a writer's block, either musically or lyrically? And what do you, in during those times, what do you do to help kind of push through that?
Yeah, it certainly happens. I feel like for me, and the way that I go back to like the hyper focus aspect is oftentimes when that spark hits for me of like, here's the idea, I got it, then it's like I have it and I'm not stopping till it's done.
Hmm.
Um, and I can't do anything else. But then there's the times in between, and it can be years in between where those ideas come.
Hmm.
Um, and I think for me personally, because I think more in the idea of concept albums or thematic albums. So I'm thinking of the songs as chapters of this book. So I don't just write one song generally and then walk away from it. You know what I mean? Like I have, okay, it's going to go from here to something like this to something like this to something, and I have the idea, the basic idea of what I wanted to sound and feel like. Um, so the aspect of writer's block for me is really just waiting it out until that spark comes.
Yeah.
I've learned over time that I know that it will come eventually, and I'll be mad sometimes along the way of how long it's taking for it to come. But I also know if I force it, it's going to turn out like shit.
Right. So once it comes, once that initial inspiration comes, then it's like a domino effect.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and
That's
then
cool.
and then because of again the thematic or conceptual album ideas, when there's one there, I can kind of build off of from that of where I want the other pieces to fall in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, totally makes sense. On the not necessarily flip side of that, but uh the other side of that, what do you do? I don't think I asked you this last time we talked because I don't think I was asking this question yet. What are some things you do for self? You are very busy. What do you do for self-care to keep yourself as balanced as you can? Outside of music, of course, music wise.
Not enough. I'll tell you that. Not enough. I don't know. I like to the downtime that I have is usually just watching silly shows. Honestly, you know what I mean. That's something that I can shut my mind off a little bit with,
Yeah.
and just try and enjoy some TV or occasionally video games too.
Yeah.
Um,
What are
and
some of
but
your
that
favorites of each of those?
shows. So let's see. Right now we are rewatching Psych in my house.
Oh,
If you've
that's a
ever seen
fun
that
one.
show,
I haven't seen
I
that in a long time. That's a fun show.
I love that show. I've
Yeah.
seen it multiple times through, and I'll watch it again any day. We've kind of been, yeah, like revisiting some of these old shows. So we just before this we finished rewatching 24. If you remember that show.
Oh, yeah, with is it Kiefer?
Yeah, with Kiefer
Yeah.
Sutherland. Yeah. And so
I never watched that one. I did watch Psych though.
okay, yeah. 24 is much more, intense
Right.
drama crime show where Psych is hilarious and stupid.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So that's it's stuff like that, and lots of comic book stuff. I love the comic book nerdy stuff. So I mean, like last night I watched the James Gunn new DC one, Creature Commandos, that has a couple
Oh, I
episodes
didn't
out.
even know he had another one. I am terrible with the DC movies. I
Oh,
haven't watched
this
very
one,
many of them.
it's a cartoon. It's an episodic
Oh, okay.
cartoon,
Okay.
and it's pretty fun. I watched the first two of them last night. They were good.
Nice.
Um, And yeah, so lots of stuff like that, and comic books in themselves too. That's my go-to, like through my teaching days. I always have just a stack of comic books in my backpack, and when I have students that cancel or don't show up, I'm like, okay, comic book time.
There you go.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Who's your favorite superhero and villain? They don't have to be
Oh,
in the same universe. They don't have to be in the same even Marvel,
hmm.
DC, or whatever else. Or I know there's a million other ones out there.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. I don't know that I have favorites for I like the anti-hero more type stories, the
Mm,
horror type stories, the ones that have the dichotomy of in their main characters, where you
yeah.
have the good guys that are doing bad things. I like the Moon Knight and Ghost Rider and Punisher and things like that,
Yes.
where you're questioning the ethics of their choices,
Hmm.
where they are doing all the wrong things for the right reasons, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, so I feel like that kind of falls on the in between of
Yeah.
heroes and villains, and that those are what I like.
Yeah, I like interesting characters like that too, of where, yeah. I mean, really, even Thanos, even though he's a bad guy, I was like, oh, I kind of get, I kind of
Yeah,
get
like
what he's
I get where you are coming from, bud. Yeah,
yeah, he
yep,
definitely doesn't fall in line with those other three, but still, yeah, there's some of
yeah.
those that, cool,
It
cool,
makes for
cool.
more interesting stories when
It
they do
does.
that. You know what I mean? That it's not just the cut and dry, 1960s. I'm the good guy. Well,
All
I'm the
right.
bad guy.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, and I think that that ethical dilemma is something that we all struggle with sometimes throughout life. And so it kind of brings that more to light of where you start thinking deeper about those parts of yourself, you know?
yeah, 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 and others for that matter too. Like, why are they making the choices that they make, and what am I not understanding about this person's life?
Oh, that is a double-edged sword there, man.
Yeah.
my undergrad's in psychology, and there's so many times of where I think I'm too understanding or forgiving of people that others aren't because I'm like, but why are they that way? Like what
Uh huh.
happened in their life or what's going on in their brain? And then it's
Right. Yep. And it's yeah. That's yep. I'm fumbling over my words now with that. Yeah, because that's so easy to go too far with that mindset, where you want to be empathetic and understanding of people's
yeah.
choices, and then but at a certain time you also got to say, okay, cut that shit out, like
Right, right.
yeah,
Like you're an adult now. You can only be forgiving for so long. Like you
right,
gotta you
right,
gotta change it up. I'm reading a book right now, Joe Hill's Nosferatu.
uh-huh,
I actually have it right here because I was reading it before
ah,
it's not gonna let me. Oh, there it is.
I saw it for a brief second. Yeah,
Anyways,
yeah,
it's a Christmas takes place during Christmas. I'm not going to say Christmas story because it's horrific. It's
uh-huh.
like haunting. I can't stop reading it. I'm already over halfway through it, but it like haunts every part of my dreams, of my daytime, of my brain, of my mind. And I'm like, I got to get through this as quickly as I can because it's torture, but it's so good. But
Uh-huh.
the bad guy is definitely not an in between, but he tries to convince you that he is. And so you're just
Oh,
like, you're awful. And I
uh-huh.
see what you're doing, but it's
Yeah.
awful.
And yeah, those are the worst, where you're just like, you manipulative little,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
and but can convince these other characters, these other people, this is the best, this is the right thing. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's such a mind messer.
Uh-huh.
So the album comes out next month. I didn't see a day. Is it the third?
January 31st, end of
31st. Okay,
January.
I saw
Yeah.
the three, and so I was like, it's one or the other.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. 31st, end of the month. There will be two more singles that will come out before then too, that everyone will get to hear.
Well, I'm
And
gonna guess it's not the one because
and actually one of
it
them
is.
is,
Oh my
yes.
gosh! So are you able to do the entire thing? Because I know that's awesome. Ooh, I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah. No, I'll give everybody the full 11.5 minute version. Yeah, that one will come out just before, like a little bit, yeah, like a week or so before the album comes out. We'll get to hear that one.
Is there any other ones that has all of you guys present, or is it just the one that you guys did with all of you guys together?
No, just that one that we
Yeah.
did. So all the rest that will come out will just be um like lyric videos, like the one for Weakening Winter Touch. And so they'll have the like the image that you see that's the cover of the album and stuff. And so my dad again did the artwork, and but he actually
So
did four
awesome.
separate paintings of the same image for the different
Oh,
seasons.
oh my gosh, he is so awesome. What a cool thing that you guys get to do together. I know I said
Yeah.
that last time too, but I love that that's something that you guys pair up and do. I think it's so
Hmm.
neat.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's and I plan on. I've got so many of his paintings around too that like are not for this, but I could see myself like years down the line after he's gone or something, be like, I'm going to use that one of his or something,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm sure that means a lot to him too. And those pictures are beautiful.
Yeah, he knocked it out of the park. The autumn themed one, the fall one, which is kind of like yellowish
Mhm.
looking that you see, um, that was one that he had done that beforehand. Like it wasn't meant to be anything
Oh,
for
okay.
me. It was just one of those that I had hanging in my house, and I had thought like I like that one. I'm going to use that for something someday. And then had this kind of seasonal and time theme. And so I asked him, like, can you do this same thing three more times in, like a summer and spring and winter? And so it took him some time, but yeah, he did
I
it.
was just gonna ask how long does it usually take him to when you're coming to him with project ideas?
It depends. Like he always says, like I don't know how quickly I can do this, and then I feel like he busts it out really quickly. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And so I honestly, it was so long ago. I don't even remember because it's such a casual kind of like, yeah, whatever. I'm in no rush. Just do it when you can. And then before I knew it, they were done. And so I wasn't even really keeping track of it.
that's so cool. That's so cool. Well, yeah, I'm super excited for everybody else to hear the rest of it. It's such a cool album. There's so many different things going on. It does seem like there's more harsh vocals in this one than there definitely was in The Illusionist. Um,
Yeah.
but but I like that. I like Opeth as well, so I I like those death growls.
Yeah, yeah, no, me too. And it's funny because I feel like the songs structure wise, like musically, it's much simpler than a lot of the illusionist stuff in terms of like the kind of verse chorus kind of construction of songs oftentimes in how they not all of it but some of it. More so than the illusionist I feel, and so I feel like it has some more of that accessibility but then has more death growls,
Instruments. Well, and it's got
and
more instruments too. And
that
so,
too, yeah.
yeah, yeah, it just feels like there's a lot of layers. And every time I listen to it, I get to hear something different. And I love albums like that. I love songs like that to where it's like a different experience every time I experience it.
Yeah,
And so you
yeah,
just want to keep going back and going, okay, what am I going to get this time? It's like watching
right.
one of those really complicated movies that you're like, okay, I get it. I'm gonna go back so I see what all the things that I missed. And then you're like,
You're
oh, okay,
right.
okay. And then let me go
Yeah,
back. And then it like takes you quite a few times to go, okay, now I totally get it.
you're right, right. Yep, yep. And that's cool. That's what I hope for with stuff like this, and also not just musically too, but also like the lyrical aspects. Like I was saying, the metaphor, like connected to your own life.
Yeah.
Don't just use what I wrote of what was going on in my life, but I want
Right.
you to connect with it, and so that can go at different phases of people's lives. I feel too. You pop on an album that you haven't listened to in 5 years and something might connect with you in a different way than it did the first time.
Yes. I'm gonna make a prediction. And because Passage of Time is a slower one that I think
Mm-hmm.
people that maybe don't love the death growls can digest more since it doesn't uh I don't think it has any.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah. But then also because of the mood and the lyrics, I will not be surprised if that one becomes one that a lot of people come to you about.
Interesting. Okay. I
My prediction.
okay. We'll see.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time with me again. I love
Yeah, you
talking about your creations with this because it's just such a cool style of music that I really hope that a lot more people get to experience and take the time to listen to.
uh-huh. Well, I hope so too. And thank you like
Yeah.
for everything. Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for talking about all of it. I appreciate all the insight, the questions. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, anytime, man. Anytime you're coming out with these Lunar albums, you know that I'm gonna be jumping right at it.
Yep, yep. Well, it'll happen again. This one, yeah, I'm already working on the next one. So
Hey, inspiration's already struck. That's good.
yep, yep. It struck already, and so I'm already on it with this one.
Have you ever thought of doing like a horror themed one?
um, Not really. I feel like that thought might have crossed my mind at some point, but it was like very fleeting, and then like not seriously.
Yeah,
But I,
yeah.
but I, I'm open to it for sure. I don't. I don't know if I could, but
Oh, you totally could. I would be interested what you would do with something like that because it would have to be, I would assume like a lot darker all throughout, but I'm sure you could. But yeah.
yeah, yeah. I, well,
Awesome.
now that idea is going to be bouncing around for a little while. So thanks. Yeah, maybe that'll spark something.
Been watching Christmas horror movies.
Yeah, yeah. I still haven't seen Terrifier 3, and I want to.
I haven't seen any of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They're wonderfully vile, you know.
That's what I keep hearing.
Yep.
I need to just do it. I don't super love really gory movies, but I know that it's like comedy driven, and so I'm like
Uh-huh.
that I could handle. Um,
Yeah.
it's the and like drama and action movies, I usually can handle gore and stuff, but when it's like really dark horror with gore, then it like makes me nauseous.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. These might like I've heard that there's a lot of people that can't handle the gore aspects of these Terrifier movies. So yeah, you might want to maybe steer
Oh
clear
no,
of them because they're pretty gory. Yeah.
isn't he pretty silly though?
I mean, in the sense that like he's a clown and does some goofy stuff, but then when it comes to the horrible stuff, it's not silly. That's for sure. You know.
I'm gonna try it and see because like the substance. Did you watch that one?
No, I haven't, but I've heard great things about it.
It's so good, so good. But that one made me nauseous a couple times, and
Really?
I think that's the only one that actually made me think like some like I guess I shouldn't have said nauseous before. Usually I'll just be like ooh,
Uh
but
huh.
with a substance I was like I genuinely feel like I'm gonna throw up, but it's so
Oh
good.
wow. Wow. Okay. All right. I'm intrigued. Nobody else in my household likes horror, so
Oh,
like
you have to
I gotta
get
I
your
gotta pick my
blanket.
moments. Yeah, I gotta pick my moments because I love it. So yeah.
um Substance has some really interesting themes about how females are viewed and how they feel like they have to be. So
Interesting. Okay.
might be some interest there with
Yeah.
that aspect of it, even though it is definitely horror.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, awesome. Well, thank you so much. I hope you
You're welcome.
have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
We're actually getting sunshine today for the first time in weeks. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna go get out in it.
Yeah, go enjoy. We got the opposite here. We're finally getting our cloudy, rainy weather in California that we never get.
I love that weather. It's my favorite
Yeah,
kind of weather.
me
Mm.
too. And
We'll
so
go
I'm
enjoy
gonna
that
go
too.
enjoy the lack of sun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.